Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks that I've been using throughout the week. And yes, I'm a day late, but this time it was intentional because I thought with the Thursday night release of 2 videos in a row, you need a break from me. So, I intentionally held this one off until Saturday. But I have a nice array of pens here and something I'm trying out, so without further ado, let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And as far as comments, I guess one of the things I'm curious about, because it actually has come up on one of the fountain pen forums, are you worried about disinfecting your pens? Do you share your pens during this time of social distancing? Do you even have the opportunity to share them anymore? Because I sure don't. So let's take a look at them. So from left to right, I have my Astura 82, which I restored a while back and that was one of my 2 first impressions Thursday night. This is new. This wasn't on it Thursday night. Yeah, I got to looking at it and I thought, I wonder if I can make the writing pop. The trick is real simple. I'm not sure. It seemed to follow the do no harm principle of mine. White crayon. Pleased with the results on that pen. The Kaweco V14S got a treat. I was talking to one of my pen pals, had a Pilot Custom Heritage 92, and he filled in all this engraving on its cap with black enamel. I'm not that ambitious, but a white crayon never hurt anybody, so that's a V14S. Not using the ink up real fast in it. My Stipula Etruria 88, Prisma, Magma, something or other. Sheaffer Legacy 2, the fingerprint magnet. I'm told this is a Wally pen, an Airmail registered, and I've been given several different possible model numbers in the comments. Its twin is right here, because if you'll recall when I did my first impression, I filled both of them up due to issues getting this one to write, so we'll see how that has resolved itself. I never did ink the third one up, but I'll just lay it here. When I do another review, I want to do this pen as one of them. This is a Selector 123E. Funny thing, until I did the white crayon, I hadn't caught on that it's a 123E, and then there's an F on the filling knob. It's a very extra fine nib. And since I had that Selector, I needed its ancestor. Which is a beautiful pen. I still have this pen going. This is a Platinum 3776. An Italix Parsons Essential. And, oh, yeah, I just laid that pen there. Whoops. And as always, I will be doing my writing samples in my Bomo art journal. Who was I talking to that I guess thought I was saying Beaumont journal? No, Bomo art. It's a Hungarian. And Hungary is in a bit of a pickle right now, thanks to their president, Orban, assuming emergency powers, and to a scary degree. So, if you're going to complain about social distancing here, look at Hungary. You can't be political on a pen channel. Watch me. Finding as I get toward the end of this Bomo art journal, it doesn't want to stay closed or stay open quite as well. It was pretty good that way until these last few pages. But if I hold it down, it should start staying open on its own here. Just gotta give it some encouragement. So I've got my cell phone laying over it down below the screen. Alright, so my Astura 82, which is an Italian brand. I think I showed you before when I did the video. What an incredibly gorgeous finish it has. You know, it makes you think of the rings on the Parker Vacuumatic, but then there's so much more to it. And then I think I see a seam there. But I don't know, there's just something about it. It's just amazing. And then it has a very nice gold nib. 585 is a percentage of gold, which translates to 14K. I think I can set the cell phone aside now. All right, so this is an Astura. And I think you can see right now that I was pretty excited when I started writing with it. I had indications it would be like this because I did have to clean it, and so I kind of had the chance to play with the nib a little, but I hadn't inked it up before. And wow, is this one a fun one. The ink in it is Callifolio. Inti. A red or a burgundy or something just was the first thing that came to mind. But then I decided to live dangerously and put a brown in it. Kind of a, what's a good word for that? Kind of an orangish brown. Anyway, I find it attractive, and it gives decent shading in this pen. My next pen will probably be a regular feature for a few more weeks yet because it's so darn stingy with the ink. It is now to the point, if I hold it upside down like this, I can see the full ink window without any ink in it. But when I hold it properly, like this, I still can't see the tops of the ink, like this, sorry. Still can't see the tops of the ink windows, even in front of these spotlights that are on me. And my curtain's open, so the neighbors are probably going, what is going on in there? All right, Kaweco V14S. And this has a fine nib on it. And the ink is yet again Pilot Blue Black. And I know the first time I ever used this ink, I just fell in love. And now I have several blue blacks in my collection. That's not something I'd ever really been into before. So thank you, I think, Pilot. Or maybe curse you! Curse you, Pilot! So, just their standard blue-black ink. One that I actually keep at my desk, which most inks I do not. I've got a, let's see, well, let's jump off the subject for a second. I have a bottle of Pelican Black here that I always keep at my desk. I know what the bottle is, but that's not what's in it. This actually contains Sailor Epinard. It's just a much nicer bottle than Sailor's bottle. I have, mainly because it won't fit anywhere else, I have an Ackerman of some kind. Just a flippin' tall bottle. And for historical reasons, I have a bottle of Lamy Black. That was my go-to black ink for a long time. I should probably just use this bottle up. But anyway, back to the story. So I have a Stipula. That'd be a good question to put in the comments. Are there any inks you regularly keep at your desk? I was about to say there's two more here, but they're related to videos I filmed just recently, and I haven't put them away yet. So my Stipula Etruria Prisma 88 Magma edition something or other thingy. Not, super thrilled with the nib on this guy. It's been better with this ink. But with a pen this expensive, the darn thing should just work. Like that. except as I write along, it's going to dry out. Now, not completely. Like I said, it's successful with this ink, which it isn't with most inks I've tried in it. But I shouldn't be begging with a pen like this. So maybe after the virus goes away, I may send it to a dim meister. I'm to the point I'm thinking that's necessary. So if you have one you would recommend, let me know down in the comments. I love the ink. Last year I had my front flower bed was planted all to sunflowers. There was a little bit of other stuff there, but mainly sunflowers. I left them up all winter, at first to feed the birds, but what I want to do with the stalks, I'm going to make tripods out of them this summer, or this spring. I want to put morning glories on them and moonflowers and just see if they'll climb them. I may wrap some string around them or something and give them something extra. Don't know if that'll work, and North Dakota has some issues with wind. Basically, we're the Saudi Arabia of wind. So, it may all get blown over and look terrible, but I thought I'd try. Alrighty. I can tell allergy season's starting because you may have noticed me clearing my throat a lot unless I managed to edit it all out. Nose running. And this year there is that panic over whether it's the virus or not, but then I have to remind myself what happens to me every year about this time. Which is much better than when I was a kid, because when I was a kid I had allergies all the time. I had my tonsils taken out when I was in first grade, because that's what they thought was wrong then. Then it turns out, no, it's just allergies. My allergies have gone down a lot since moving to North Dakota, so, as much as I may say sometimes, talk about moving elsewhere, I know when I go back home to Pennsylvania, my nose turns into a faucet and I start sneezing a lot. So there is something to be said for North Dakota. Alrighty, this is my Sheaffer Legacy 2. Has a nice inlaid nib. This is a pen, I guess it came out in the 90s. It was a special edition. When I did the first impression, you got to see all the fancy packaging. And you know what I've done with the fancy packaging since? Walked around it in the basement. And so, I don't know. Do I keep it? Part of me says yes for the collector's value. Part of me says, but will I ever need it or use it? I don't know. Because I like this pen so well, I'm pretty much planning on keeping it. Unless, maybe thanks to the virus, maybe I'll end up losing my teaching job and not be able to find another one, then in which case I'll be... Sorry, I got thrown off because I've got the wrong name for the ink on the screen there. In which case I'll be glad to have some stuff I can sell off. But I think my job's pretty safe. Being a science teacher, even if we do end up with economic difficulties, that's a pretty safe position. And we haven't had enough of us for years, and there's actually getting to be a big shortage in this country, so that isn't something that consumes me with worry. Let's just be honest. That is a nice looking ink, though, in this pen. Some pens I use that ink and I just think, ugh, this is a good pen for it. I think this ink just looks good in a wet pen. So my next one is my first of my two Airmail pens. This is the ebonite version. There we go. Uh-oh. That's not looking good. Haven't written with them at all today. So if this one's having trouble and this one was the good one, who knows what's going to happen with the other one. So this is a Krishna. Freedom Gold. I just realized why somebody in the comments on this review said they expected me to start belting out a Janis Joplin song. I totally forgot until I wrote that I said freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And yeah, that's Janis Joplin. Do I do it tonight? Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing. Oh, nothing. I forget how it goes after that. Now I'm going to have to listen to that while I edit the video together. Actually, my favorite song of hers, I think, may be the 17. I learned the truth at 17, that love was just for beauty queen, and all that. You know, something about that song, I never knew firsthand how it feels to be a high school girl. I've taught enough of them. I knew a few when I was in high school, but, you know, I never had that experience. The male equivalent, probably, because last I checked, I was male. Okay, I gotta look how to spell this one. Krishna Sindhoor. Apologies if I am butchering the pronunciation. It is writing better today. One thing I'm noticing with these two inks, they're acting kind of like Noodler's inks that have been in the pen for a while. Okay, there we go. That's what it was doing during the review. So, I don't know if it needs flushing or what. But anyway, where they just take forever to dry. I may, before next week, take this pen apart, set the barrel in a jar somewhere, and just flush out the nib. I may do that to both of them, just to see. Alright, this is my Selector 123E. As I mentioned last week when I inked it up, because I do want to do an actual review of it, it has it says it's a fine nib, but I'd describe it as extra fine, and it definitely has a sweet spot. See, I'm off the sweet spot. But in any case, very fine nib. The ink, oh, I should put the nib size, fine. The ink in it is Colorverse Golden Reg'd, which I've liked a lot better in other pens. Some inks, when you put them in a different pen, they take on a totally new character. Usually with your very fine nibs, you can't see a lot of the shading and intricacy of an ink. So fine nibs are even better for, you know, maybe your less exciting inks that have a nice vibrant color. I'm going to show you another one in a fine nib. In fact, it's going to be my last pen that is going to demonstrate that, I think, pretty well. But not yet. I just closed the curtains. It's dark outside, and I think people are going to stare at this bright light. So this is my Selector, just plain Selector, the mottled purple and black. Just an absolutely wonderful finish. You know, Chris Rapp 52 kind of disparaged it a little bit when he talked about how the celluloid is actually kind of spirally put together on this, but I don't care. I think it's attractive. So this isn't really a purple that matches, but hopefully you can see in a minute why I chose this one. So the ink in it is Diamine Purple Rain. Since we're singing tonight, Purple Rain. And I honestly don't remember how the rest of it goes. I can hum the tune. The words escape me. I believe the singer of that song is from the one of the suburbs of North Dakota, over in Minnesota. Yeah, did you know that Minnesota is actually a suburb of North Dakota? So I'll let that ink dry a bit, and then I will show you what's supposed to be so special about that. Just remind me if I forget. This is a Platinum 3776 with the... doggone, I forgot the name of the finish. That doesn't matter. It's a pen. The main thing about this pen for me is its nib anyway. What about the nib? Coarse, which is platinum for double broad. The ink in it is discontinued because the company no longer exists. It's Omas gray. It's a very nice warm gray. I have several different gray inks in my collection. This just happens to be one of them. And I was thinking I haven't used it in a while. Now, probably what I should be using up are some of those small Iroshizuku bottles that I have, but, you know, felt like using this. I do kind of want to shrink my number of ink bottles down, but I also want to enjoy the pens I write with, so we have to compromise. My last pen that's inked up here is the Italix Parsons Essential. And remember I said that this ink looks quite good in it? This is a very attractive ink in a broad nib. In this very fine nib, it's also very attractive. In a different way, perhaps, but very attractive. I've got a letter to my parents I'm writing, since I can't visit them, and it is very striking on the page. In fact, thanks to them, I wasn't sure I'd be writing with it tonight, but it seems to have rallied just enough ink to finish off this video, which of course means that next week don't expect to see this pen in use. But when I say that a fine nib really needs a nice striking intense ink, there you go. Perfect example. All right, before I leave here and go back to camera A, I just wanted to mention, make sure I grab the right pen here. Oh, I grabbed the wrong pen. This one. So this is Skretor, which last week I showed you about how the converter doesn't fit. But I did mention that, it seems to be a Shaeffer cartridge. And so I had some offers from a few viewers to send me a slim Shaeffer converter, which I didn't even know was a thing, and then some slim cartridges. So, yeah, I have awesome viewers, this channel. But I don't know if these are standard Shaeffer cartridges or not, but they seem to fit. Now, what's happened, I tried to rehydrate the other one. I haven't been brave enough on this one. I tried to rehydrate the other one. What happened is it's now been 2 weeks, and the ink is still not dissolving. It's just floating around like pond scum inside the cartridge. So I had talked last week about trying to put this converter in, but the converter's just a teeny bit too wide and doesn't fit. I think I have one more, not sure where. I think I have one more Skretor which takes these cartridges. So hopefully, if I do have one, this will fit on it. If it doesn't, then I guess I'll have a Shaeffer converter till that day comes when I find a Shaeffer pen that it fits. What? Yeah, I know. That came out like hamburger. I also thought I would mention something else. Of course, it's with the Astura, which you can't tell anymore. But I mentioned when I did my first impression of the Astura about my whole first do no harm thing. And because I had noticed on the Astura that the nib and the feed weren't actually touching. Now I'm seeing the same thing on this bolograph. I don't know if you can tell, but there's quite a significant gap there. And I had to reseat the nib and feed because they were not even... okay, this was the pen that when you would put the cap on it, the nib tines would go around on the inside of the cap and be all bent and twisted. So I had to push it all further back. So I think this is one that may actually need some heat setting. So part of me wants to see how it does by itself before I heat set it. Part of me thinks it's not going to do anything. So I may start it as a first impression, and if it works great, then great, we'll just go with it. And if it doesn't work great, we will turn it into a heat setting the nib video. So that sounds like a decent plan to me, hopefully to you. I'm going to film a few more first impressions. I've got a Marquant I want to film tonight. Marquant M165. I need to quick look up what all these words mean. I know that's writing. I'm not 100% sure what that is. I have a Luxor, which is a, and I have a Pevd, a Hemi. So I've got some pens here. A Geha, a couple Chinese pens, some more Indian pens, so lots to come. But I promised there'd be a bolograph on Monday. So I guess I'll have to do the pen restoration video later in the week. But that's okay. It's probably going to be, what did I say, pressure bars, because I want to wait on that just a bit. No, it can't be pressure bars, because the pen I want to put the button pressure bar in needs to be resacked, and I should show you how to resack first. So I guess it'll be resacking. Doggone it. Anyway, so that's where I'm at with the pens and inks that I've been using this week. A couple other things that just came up. I was grocery shopping today. I'm trying to limit my trips to the grocery store. It's a lot easier now that it's farther out of town. Last week, I walked out there just to pick up a few things so I could get through this week. Basically, fresh ingredients. This week, was a longer trip because I had to get more stuff. Toilet paper and those kind of things are starting to come back into stocks. The thing that was missing this week was dried beans of various types. They had a lot of black beans. Well, so do I. I made a video the other night, supper the other night while watching ODE's video about his fountain pen collection. And beans and rice just aren't the same when you use black beans because it all comes out very gray and dismal. Not the cheerful, happy, orangish color of the recipe. So, hopefully the store will get some red beans and pinto beans soon. But right now we're basically down to navy beans, black beans, and kidney beans. And kidney beans take longer to cook in an Instapot, so I can't really use them in that recipe. So I have more videos coming. We've got the bolograph coming on Monday, and like I said, I'm going to film a video on resacking a pen for Wednesday, and pens in use. And I am finally to the point I'm getting ahead on some pen videos. Not the pen restorations, but I'm getting a stock built up of first impressions. So that takes a lot of pressure off me. And I want to build up a stock of reviews, although that's getting to be a smaller list. I've been doing reviews and first impressions long enough. I'm running out of the pens that I owned, have shown in pens in use, but have never been reviewed. So yeah, the point is going to come soon, maybe this summer. I haven't counted. Where any further reviews I do will be pens that I've already done a first impression on. So that's how long I've been doing that first impression series, which is kind of surprising. I was given this, not this one. Oh, it's over there because I was writing down what the ink was. This Morrison's notebook, which is a supermarket chain in Great Britain, apparently. But I've been using it for my first impressions, and it works because I use front and back of each of those pages. Oh, you didn't remind me, but luckily I remembered. Purple Rain. Back to camera B. Alright, so don't try tilting your head to see this. I'm just going to do my best to show it. I can't really tell if I'm showing it. But it's another one of those sheening German series of inks. And yes, I know Diamine is not a German company, but the series is special for Germany. The sheen on this one is kind of goldish. It's not as amazing as some of the inks in this series, but it's still pretty nice. So I'm trying to remember where I read it, but I was reading recently something about disinfecting pens. And I know, like, the FedEx driver who delivered this computer after it was repaired said I was supposed to sign, but I wasn't going to sign because they're just not signing anymore. And it got me thinking about disinfecting fountain pens, and I realized, why would I disinfect them? Because who's using them besides me? They're not leaving the house. I'm not even taking them to school because school's right here. So, yeah, it hasn't been an issue for me. But I did learn this week. I heard a piece of advice. Now, let's just think about whether it's good advice or not. This week I heard about disinfecting, possibly using ultraviolet light. Possibly using disinfectants, maybe injecting with disinfectants. And I have noticed some of these pens, like this Astura, seems to have an injection hole right on its cap. So do I inject bleach in there if somebody touches it that possibly may have the dreaded disease? Maybe I inject some isopropyl alcohol. Or maybe just sit it in a tanning booth for 24 hours. Okay, so of course I'm joking, making a mockery of government officials here in my country who are not doing press conferences anymore, thank God. But anyway, as far as disinfecting, I would suggest not. So it actually does come off of a serious discussion. It was on one of the fountain pen forums that I've been on. Isopropyl alcohol, bleach, will damage the finish on a lot of pens, especially vintage pens. Ultraviolet light is an enemy to plastics. If you're that worried that your pen has been exposed, sit it somewhere for 72 hours or so, and let the virus just naturally break down. That's the best I can offer you. Maybe you could wipe it with a microfiber, but I don't know if I trust that to completely get up viruses. It's usually better at things like bacteria. So I would just let it set if you're that worried. I don't know how many people are worried. It just did come up. Don't ask me to find it again, but it did come up in one of the forums that I visit. So hopefully everybody's staying safe, even though we are under stay-at-home orders of various degrees, with my state more on the lax end of it, to be honest, and some states seem to be on the absolute bat-crap crazy end of it. Even our main politician in this country has criticized a couple of them for like, oh, maybe not yet, dudes. So, but try to stay safe, be smart. I would love more than anything to get a haircut, but I'll tell you what, my barber opens tomorrow. I'm not going to her. till I'm not so worried about myself. I mean, I could be at risk. People my age do get it. I'm more worried about what it could do to her or the next person in the chair if I have it. You know, maybe this isn't allergies I have right now. Maybe it's allergies plus the virus. I don't know. So, I think that's what the governors in these states that are easing up are discovering is that, maybe too much too soon. At some point, the economy does have to get going, but we do have to be smart about it. And at the moment, although protesters are quite vocal and are getting a disproportionate amount of media attention, that's not where most of the country is at right now. That may change as the weather gets nicer, but for now we're not there. And I just find it interesting, and you can read into this whatever you want, maybe read between the lines here. These protests aren't happening in most countries. I wonder why. So, on that note, if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I totally forgot what my main topic was. Whatever it was, please feel free to comment down below. So, I want to thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.